I've been making a lot of jewelry lately, and that often means making these very small, intricate pieces that need to get some sort of coloring on them, and then need to get some sort of finish on them. These are going to be a pair of earrings, well, two pairs of earrings. And as you can see, doing this with a brush is going to be a lot of work. It's going to be hard to get anything in there, and getting an even coating on that is really challenging. And so I realized what I needed was the ability to spray finishes in small quantities. And I'm just working in a basement shop, so having a full spray setup that has a booth and has the ability to deal with overspray is really challenging. So what I'm showing you today is the cheap way to do a small scale spray painting fixture. And that might be useful for models, like if you're a person who does Warhammer figurines or something like that. It can be somebody like me who does earrings of various kinds or other small things. I've used it for small boxes and other kinds of small woodworking projects. It's very simple. Importantly, it's very cheap, and it doesn't take a lot of space to store when you're not using it. So I wanted to show you the way that I've addressed these concerns and hopefully spark some of your ideas for yourself. So first off, the tools. What I'm using for spraying is this cool little spray gun that came from Harbor Freight years ago. It was really, really cheap. And what it does is it has these little bottles that you can fill with finish that snap onto the little, it's essentially a single action airbrush that basically all it has is on or off, and you adjust the spray pattern with this. It was really cheap. It's very easy to clean, and it's not any kind of problem for doing simple coatings. To that, I bought a cheap pressure regulator that comes off of my air compressor, and this was, I think, $5 or $6. And it just allows me to tune the air pressure that's coming into the airbrush really easily right at the point where I'm working, rather than going across the room to the compressor. Again, $5 or $6, and it has massively improved what I'm working with. The other thing I wanted to show you before I show you the booth is this stuff. Harbor Freight sells this. This is a container of about a pound, I think, of stainless steel wire. I don't know what alloy it is, but it actually does seem to be stainless. It doesn't rust. And what I've used that for is all kinds of baling wire applications. But for this, what I do is I make little custom hooks, which allow me to hang an earring on there, which then lets me turn this. And I use them when I'm hand painting things, but I also use them in a slightly different form for holding stuff inside the spray booth. Here's one of the hooks that I made, and what this does is this goes through a little hole in the ceiling of the spray booth. This part holds it, keeps it from following through, and then whatever it is that I'm painting or spraying or putting polyurethane on can just hang right there, and it's not going to fall off. And so that airbrush plus these cheap hooks that I think this was like $5 or $6 for a pound of wire, and I've used maybe a quarter of an ounce. That has really set me up well for doing everything I want to do, even just in a basement shop. So now let's take a look at the actual booth and how we use it to keep the air clean in here. So I'm trying to work on an affordable basis, and that meant using things I had around. So this is the exterior of my spray booth, and as you can see, I had to replace the dehumidifier, and it's just the box from that. A couple things I want you to notice before we get going inside. There's a hole that I've cut here at the back, and that's sized to accept a ShopVac hose. I have a ShopVac in my shop, and it does a reasonably good job creating a bunch of airflow. So that just goes down in there, and it's a pocket sized appropriately to sort of hold that and keep it from falling down. Next up, you'll notice there are a bunch of things that look kind of like paper clips here on the top. And actually what those all are, they're little slits right through the cardboard. And those slits get, where did I put it? Over here. The way that works, remember these hooks that I made? Those just go right down through into the inside of the spray booth, and that holds whatever I need to hold up in the air so that nothing's touching it when the paint is drying. Looking down on the inside, you can see a couple of things. This is about, I don't know, about a foot deep, and about, I don't know, a foot and a half wide. And you can see in the back of this, what I've done is I took a furnace filter and I couldn't get one in quite the right size, so I scored it at the bottom and just folded it. I didn't cut it. The remaining part of it is holding on the bottom surface of this to sort of hold that in place. And you can see I have cut some pieces of cardboard along the sides to help seal. And I was originally going to hot glue those in place, but actually just a friction fit has been totally adequate to hold that filter in place and keep it airtight, so that air that gets sucked in by the ShopVac gets pulled through this filter. You got to make sure it's oriented the correct direction, and then doing what I need. And so you can see I have tested some finishes on the side. There's a little bit of overspray here on the bottom from when I've been trying things. But you can also see up there we have all these hooks, perfect for hanging small things. You can also set up a little, like a block at the bottom or painter's triangles or something like that. It's really easy. And I didn't cut the flaps off of the box because they're actually really useful for directing airflow to make sure that none of the spray gets outside this box. And I found that it was a little dark. I had a couple of not battery powered, I had a couple of little plug-in LED lights from somewhere that I scrounged from something else. And that lets me have customizable lighting inside. This kind of little magnet LED light is very, very common, and you can find them all over the place. I think I've seen similar things at the dollar store. And that just makes it really easy to see what I'm doing when I'm working in here. And what I found is with the vacuum cleaner on, as long as my spray gun is about 6 inches into the booth, maybe a little less, there's no overspray, there's no mist that filters back out. And it's really, really safe because I'm not seeing anything on particulate counters. I'm not smelling any solvents or anything like that because it's going through a filter and then through the ShopVac filter. I don't use things with super high VOCs, so I can't speak to that. But it's pretty easy to just get something in there. And then the nice thing is I can reach from the top and rotate these hooks to make sure that I'm getting all sides of whatever it is that I'm trying to stick some finish onto. And the total cost for this was, I think, like $3 or $4 for the filter plus whatever portion of that thing of wire. It's been very, very useful, and I had been thinking I would build a better booth, but now I don't, because this does everything I need. So you probably don't have the same dehumidifier box or the same lights or the same exact needs, but I hope that this will tell you and show you that you can make your own thing that keeps you from getting finishes all over your bench and will, really help you keep things clean, keep things safer, and get a nice finish on the things that you're trying to spray. Good luck with it.